So I want you to picture a single drop of water. It just left your kitchen sink, or maybe it washed right off your roof during a sudden heavy downpour. Where does it actually go? I mean, it doesn't just vanish into thin air, right? Actually, it embarks on this incredibly complex, highly engineered journey.
Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're exploring the interconnected watershed. We're going to look specifically at the complete drainage infrastructure for a residential home and its surrounding community. We are essentially going to trace that single drop of water from the pipes hidden inside your walls all the way out to the massive regional aquifer.
Here's our train schedule for today's journey. We'll start inside your home's drains, move out to roofs, yards, and swales, catch the neighborhood water train, check out ponds, wetlands, and outfalls, and finally figure out who actually owns all of this infrastructure.
All right, Section 1, Inside Your Home's Drains and the Hidden Rules of Indoor Plumbing. You know, the sheer complexity of a home's indoor plumbing system is absolutely fascinating when you stop and think about it. Notice the total separation going on. The fresh water coming into your fixtures, represented by blue and green, and the wastewater going out in gray are carefully engineered, completely separate paths that literally never cross. That exit path is known as the Drain, Waste, and Vent System, or DWV for short, and it relies on a perfect, almost magical balance of three very simple forces. First, gravity pulls the wastewater downward. Then, roof vents pull air into the system to keep it flowing freely and prevent it from stalling out. And finally, those U-shaped traps under your sinks, they hold a tiny little seal of water just to block dangerous sewer gases from creeping back into your house.
And this brilliantly illustrates how all of this harmony leads right to the exit point. The main sewer line, which is known as the sewer lateral, safely carries all that waste away to the municipal sewer or your septic system. It's the perfect bridge for our journey from the indoors to the great outdoors.
Which brings us to Section 2, Roofs, Yards, and Swales, your very first line of defense.
There's a quote that really shifts your whole perspective on this. It says, "A Florida yard is rarely an isolated drainage problem. It is one small surface in an engineered watershed." Think about that. When you look at a backyard, you aren't just looking at some grass and dirt. You are actually looking at a highly interconnected piece of a giant drainage puzzle.
It's a super common myth that yards are just flat patches of dirt. But in reality, the finished grade of your lot is your absolute first drainage system. Those tiny vertical differences in elevation, they are crucial. The lot crown is intentionally designed to shed water away from your foundation. And those shallow swales you see at the property lines are intentional infrastructure. They aren't just random ditches. They are explicitly designed to move water safely away from your house.
Let's move on to Section 3, the neighborhood water train, connecting the community.
Now, what's really interesting here is that we can literally follow our drop of water step by step through the whole community. It gets captured at the roof and planting beds, it moves as sheet flow across the lot's grade into a swale, then it enters an inlet and a pipe system to be conveyed away. From there, it drops into a pond to be stored and treated, passes into a wetland, and finally exchanges with the regional waterway and aquifer. The whole shebang.
And because of this continuous train, we really have to understand cause and effect. Look, drainage is fundamentally an elevation and capacity system. If you block a swale on your lot by, say, building a shed, or if you accidentally clog a pipe, well, that water doesn't just magically vanish into another dimension, it backs up. Every quick fix you make on your property just sends that water somewhere else, and honestly, that usually means it ends up flooding your neighbor's yard.
All right, Section 4, Ponds, Wetlands, and Outfalls, managing peak flow and volume.
Looking at the data, you've got a gentle pre-development runoff curve in green. But when we build roads and roofs, represented by that steep red line, we create sharper, faster, and much higher runoff peaks. That's where the community pond steps in, shown by the blue line. It acts like a massive hydraulic shock absorber. It basically captures that massive spike of water, holds onto it, and then releases it safely and slowly over time to prevent downstream flooding.
Now, to truly understand these systems, we need to quickly define two absolutely crucial terms: detention and retention. Detention means the system temporarily stores water and releases it slowly. Retention, on the other hand, means it stores a specific volume of water and holds it there for infiltration into the soil or evaporation into the air. Community ponds are highly engineered infrastructure designed for these exact functions. They're definitely not just ornamental lakes built to make the landscaping look pretty.
So the crucial point is that these ponds utilize specific control structures, like weirs and orifices, that regulate this discharge. They are intentionally restrictive to meter the water out at a very safe pace. If they get blocked by yard trash, or if a resident illegally alters them to make a pond drain faster, well, it causes flooding. And here's a fantastic reminder. If a pond is designed for retention and infiltration, a dry pond can actually be functioning perfectly. It did its job, the water soaked into the ground, and now it's totally empty and ready for the next design storm.
Finally, Section 5. Who owns the infrastructure? HOA versus CDD responsibilities.
You know, it's really easy to see why so many people get this mixed up. While a homeowners association, or HOA, is a private entity that manages community appearance, architectural standards, and private amenities, a community development district, or CDD, is actually a public special-purpose government district. In a lot of master plan communities, it's the CDD, not the HOA, that's responsible for building and maintaining the major infrastructure. We're talking the roads, the massive drainage systems, and those retention ponds. And this is typically funded right through an assessment on your property tax bill.
But here's the kicker. Even with the CDD managing the large-scale systems, individual homeowners frequently and quietly break their own carefully engineered drainage. Let's rapid fire through some of the most common mistakes. Piling up mulch volcanoes that block water flow. Installing continuous landscape hedging that ends up acting like a miniature dam. Building raised garden beds that store water right against your foundation walls. Putting up fences directly across swales without leaving a gap at the bottom for the water to actually pass through. Or burying downspouts underground without making sure they have a proper, clear outlet. It sounds minor, but these tiny landscape changes have massive systemic impacts.
So, to avoid these traps, having a proactive inspection calendar is incredibly valuable. During the wet season, you should be checking your gutters, swales, and inlets on a monthly basis. In the dry season, just watch for unexpected flows that might point to an irrigation leak. Right before hurricane season, ensure your emergency overflow paths are totally clear of things like patio furniture or debris. And after a major storm hits, document the peak water depth and see just how long it takes for the system to recover. If you follow this schedule, you're proactively protecting your property and your neighborhood's infrastructure all year long.
Well, we've traced the incredible journey of a single drop of water from the vent stack in your roof, across your lot's grade, through the neighborhood pipes and ponds, all the way to the regional aquifer. It's a brilliant, highly interconnected system that relies entirely on elevation, capacity, and honestly, all of us being active stewards. So I'm going to leave you with this final challenge. Go look out your window right now. Where do you fit in the watershed? And the next time it rains, where exactly does your water go? Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and stay curious.
Explore the varied path at viavaria.co.